Welcome back. We have got some breaking news from Manchester United.
OK, Premier League referee is currently being investigated over fresh allegations made by the Sun that he discussed giving a yellow card. Now, the newspaper alleges that Coote texted a friend, quote, also reporting that Coote denies any wrongdoing and that while he accepts the discussion took place, he's claiming it was only banter. In the last few minutes, Coote has actually released a statement on the latest allegations.
Serious concerns after the two VAR officials and Scottish FA head of refereeing, Willie Collum, admitted that being awarded a penalty in the game.
I think the powers that be made that many mistakes so far and decisions that they've made on and off the pitch that they almost don't want to admit right now that they've made another. And this has been a disaster for Manchester United, but also Ruben Amorim. What he did at Sporting Lisbon was fantastic. You know, he looked like the next big thing as a manager, but bringing a manager like that in terms of the system that he played, I don't think ever really suited the club of the traditions of Manchester United.
What about the small details as well?
Yeah, I think when I go back to the winning goal and when I rewatch the...
Well, this is why I said what I said, because we played sometime in games like that, and the Premier League sometimes will give you a game like that. But what I like about what he said, and Jamie was mentioning it at the end, and we were talking about it, so many times they were not patient enough on the ball. Every time they put the ball down and they tried to make 3 to 4 passes to go on the right and on the left, they did open up Newcastle. But they didn't do it very often. I don't know why. Obviously the crowd, they got bullied at times. They were over them, but you know, I think they got away with one tonight, Liverpool. But look, that's how it is. It reminds me of, you know, the other day when Arsenal won at Man United. People were talking more about Man United than Arsenal. Same thing tonight, but they managed to find a way to win it.
Through strength, like he said?
I'm not sure. I mean, he mentioned the duels in the first half. I thought Liverpool lost a lot of duels in the first half. And in some ways, people always say the best way to win is with a last-minute winner. Of course, everybody knows that. But in some ways, the way Liverpool won is almost the worst way to win, taking away the last-minute goal. But in terms of, like, you're being dominated, you've 10 men, you're hanging on at the end, but they found a way to win. So I said Eddie Howe and Newcastle will be so disappointed tonight. But in the morning, they look at each other and think, for Liverpool, they were absolutely ecstatic in that dressing room. But when the coaches and the players get back to the training ground, the AXA, in the next couple of days, it will be like, we need to sort ourselves out.
I think he was talking about Van Dijk.
Oh, Van Dijk was outstanding. You have to say
at the very end, if you compare Van Dijk and Konate in terms of clearing the ball and the impact that he had on going and...
That's like comparing me and you.
No, but I think Van Dijk was immense tonight once again.
Yeah. Welcome back to John Cross, Riyaf Al Samurai and Jack Rosser. Let's talk all things Manchester United now because, yep, they made it 3 wins, 3 Premier League wins on the spin for the first time. And I can't remember how long, but the first time definitely under Ruben Amorim, because he made it back-to-back wins for the first time under his management last time out as well. Riyaf, it was a huge win for Manchester United. We have been here before. The word false dawn seems to be associated with that club in the past few seasons, but and I've probably asked you this question before as well, does this one feel different?
It does, because it's the first time he's done it. I've been incredibly sceptical about Ruben Amorim, and it's gonna take a lot more, I think, before I reverse ferret on that particular view. But look, it's 3 wins in a row. They're going well. I think the main thing is actually, even aside from the results, it's the positive signs on the pitch. We know what he's about, and we also know his limitations with this sort of absolute commitment to the dogma of his system. You know, he's not for turning. So look, we make peace with that, and you watch it unfold. Now, what I saw yesterday, I think possibly the main things, aside from them actually winning a 3rd game in a row, you got guys like Cunha, guys like Mbemo, guys like Bruno tracking back, putting in a shift. You've actually now, for a lot of his reign, I've watched it wondering how much of these players actually buying into what he's telling them. I wouldn't ever say it's been a team that's really screamed of commitment to me. What I was watching yesterday and during this run, which we should remind ourselves is 3 games, so perhaps sort of hiring the open top bus is premature. But when we're watching that yesterday, you're seeing that it's very positive. They've obviously shown a few vulnerabilities towards the end. They sort of allowed that door to be opened again, but with United, we've got to be talking about baby steps, because they've got to start showing the signs of that progress. We are seeing it now. I still think the single biggest aspect in this is the blessing in disguise of not having Europe
At that time.
Yeah.
And the budget may have to go on those players because he's pinpointed these players as the players to take them forward.
The football world has been thrown into fresh chaos following explosive, unconfirmed reports claiming that the foul involving Manchester United defender Leny Yoro was secretly cancelled by VAR during the highly controversial clash against Crystal Palace. What initially appeared to be a straightforward officiating decision has now spiraled into a global talking point, reigniting long-standing concerns about transparency and fairness in the Premier League. According to whispering sources close to the post-match review process, VAR officials allegedly identified significant inconsistencies in the original call late in the match. These inconsistencies were said to be serious enough to justify overturning the decision. However, the supposed reversal was never communicated publicly, nor was any announcement made through the stadium screens or broadcast feeds, a detail that has only intensified the uproar. If true, the alleged decision would mark one of the most controversial VAR moments in recent Premier League history. Fans across social media erupted instantly, demanding clarity on how such a crucial correction could be withheld, especially in a game that carried major implications for Manchester United's season. United supporters argue that this moment reveals deeper structural issues within VAR operations. Many insist the situation proves that the system lacks accountability and consistency, pointing to a growing list of matches where officiating decisions have dramatically influenced outcomes. Critics of the club, meanwhile, claim the swirling rumor only adds to the noise surrounding an already intense rivalry between fan bases. Crystal Palace fans have also expressed frustration, arguing that if a reverse decision was indeed hidden, it raises serious questions about competitive integrity. In a league where every point can define a season, even the suggestion of a concealed decision has far-reaching consequences. The Premier League and PGMOL have not issued any official response to the growing speculation. With each passing hour, questions mount. Is this an isolated incident or a signal of deeper issues within the VAR system? As the debate intensifies, pundits and analysts are calling for urgent transparency, arguing that the credibility of officiating is at stake. With fan trust diminishing and scrutiny at an all-time high, the Premier League faces immense pressure to address the swirling allegations and reassure the global football community that VAR remains a tool for fairness, not confusion. For now, the storm continues to grow, with supporters demanding answers and the world of football waiting to see whether this controversy will trigger overdue reform or fade into yet another unexplained VAR mystery.